Welcome into another All AZ Bets video. Chris Schubert, Eric Cohen back once again. Another NFL themed video. Eric has been frantically texting me all week like, hey, what are we going to do the video on Friday? What are we going to do the video on Friday? Eric, I'm going to let you tell the people what this video is about because you're the one that sent me the topic, the categories that we're picking from. So what are we doing here on the show today?
All right, Chris, I spent extensive research this week.
So 10 minutes. So 10 minutes.
No, more than that, believe it or not. Going over NFL player futures. You know, we've talked about team futures. We talked about divisions and all that last week. Now we're going to go over player futures. And there are 4 categories that I think there is money to be made.
Sure.
MVP, defensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, and coach of the year. So we're going to go over those. And I think we can all, now I'm going to save my bet your house picks until the end because none of these are bet your house picks.
I want it to be clear. We have another, this is now 3 weeks in a row, some bet your house picks.
Yes. So if you have like multiple houses, I'm going to give you 2 plays at the end of the show that you're going to want to bet those secondary houses on. Yes.
Okay. We'll save those for the end here. We'll keep those in mind. I believe the first category you mentioned there was MVP. And in doing my research for this, there was a name that I circled with the Sharpie. It was with the Sharpie. That's how
I know who it is.
I was.
I know who it is. It's the second choice on my list. At 9-1, Josh Allen, right?
It is not Josh Allen at 9-1.
Really?
No. It is a guy. It is a guy with longer odds than Josh Allen.
Really?
Yep.
All right, go for it. I'll let you start because I have 4.
I am all in on Tom Brady plus 1,400.
Come on.
I am all in.
There's a Super Bowl hangover, Chris.
Not for Tom Brady, there's not. And if he puts up the numbers that we saw this team put together in the second half, and he does it over a 17-game season, and this offense hits that second gear that we think that they can hit and be even better than they were last year, how does he not put up insane numbers? And listen, you're going to hear me say this a lot over the course of this video. A lot of these awards we're talking about are narrative driven. And if Tom Brady in his second season in Tampa, a year after winning a Super Bowl, a year older, puts up stupid Madden-like numbers, you can bet that they are going to give him another award. I like your pick. I like Josh Allen. I think plus 900 is really good odds because I think the Buffalo Bills are my Super Bowl pick, and I think has a lot to do with the season he's going to have. But I like taking these little longer shots that I feel really confident in, and Tom Brady at plus 1,400 is my guy.
All right, I have three other guys other than Josh Allen. And the Brady, your logic for Brady makes sense. I just see the Super Bowl hangover there. I don't see Tampa Bay being as good in the regular season.
If he struggles the first 6 weeks of the year and doesn't have those stupid kind of numbers that we've seen, I absolutely agree. He has to get off to a really good start, and the narrative has to be set from the get-go of, gosh, we're seeing another level of Brady. That's the way he wins this award.
So Patrick Mahomes is a favorite at plus 350. I mean, I wouldn't want to bet short odds like that. He is my pick to win MVP as of right now. It just that short odds like that, a lot can go wrong in a year. I just think Kansas City is going to be really, really good, like a 14-win team, 15-win team. So at plus 350, I'd look there. Josh Allen 9-1. The Bills are your Super Bowl pick. Matthew Stafford at 16-1.
You're all over this Rams team this year. You're all in on this team.
Now the next one is going to bug you. 45-1. I threw in a long shot. Derrick Henry, because I know you hate my Titans prediction. I think Derrick Henry is going to set the single season rushing record before week 18. And therefore at 45-1, it's worth a gamble, isn't it?
So, I mean, you know how often this award goes to non-running backs.
It's rare.
It doesn't. Rare. The answer is it doesn't. But I will tell you this. If there is a player to pick, I think it is Derrick Henry, because if there is a player that I would pick to break the single season rushing record, it would be Derrick Henry. So I think your logic here is very good. And I think we're going to have to, in the media, really take a step back here, because I think with these awards, they're so narrative driven. There's going to be a lot of records that are broken this year just because we're adding an extra game, right? Yep. Records are just going to be shattered. So we have to keep that in context. But there are some of these marks, these single season marks, that if they get beaten, they are going to be the talk of the town. And Derrick Henry breaking the single season rushing record would be one of those things. I don't necessarily think he'll do it, but if he does, yes, he is certainly going to be in the conversation.
At 45-1, it's worth throwing a couple bucks, right? Okay, I wouldn't bet your house on that.
No, that's okay. That's not the bet your house one. Good to know.
No, that's not. We'll go on from that. A defensive player of the year. Last year I liked TJ Watt before the season. I didn't bet it stupidly, and he won. Aaron Donald is always a good bet. He's the favorite. But the second choice, I'll tell you, Myles Garrett with Jadeveon Clowney on the opposite side there in Cleveland. You can only you can't double team Myles Garrett. Plus 450. I mean, this is a guy that in 17 games, the sack record is speaking of records that may be broken. I could see Myles Garrett and his aggressiveness, as we know from his helmet swinging days. I tell you, at plus 450 with the Browns looking like a playoff team again, worth a shot there. Also, my other longer shot is a team we talked about last week, the Washington football team. Chase Young, second year, 10-1. That's another one I would look. Those are my two options for defensive player of the year.
I feel like I'm presenting a player that has a little bit longer odds. This guy, 40-1 odds to be the defensive player of the year. And I think this has to do with, if this team is extremely successful, if they make a run in this division, because of some of the names around him, they can't double team this guy anymore. You were talking about how Myles Garrett can't get double teamed. I don't think this guy can get double teamed either. He can threaten the sack record. If his team is really good, Chandler Jones.
I knew you were going there.
40-1
I knew you were going there.
Is some decent odds. Again, we've mentioned it here in doing these in this video series. I'm not super high on the Cardinals, but I can see a path where at 40-1, if he threatens that single season sack record, if the Cardinals are really good with JJ Watt in town now, they're not going to be able to double team him. And yes, he's coming off of an injury. It's why his odds are down here in the 40-1. But man, I'll take a guy who a couple years ago had 19 sacks. I'll take a guy a couple years ago who followed it up with a 17 sack season. Guy gets after the quarterback and is not talked about enough when it comes to pass rushers. So Chandler Jones is my guy for defensive player of the year. You want to talk about offensive rookie of the year?
I do.
Is that the position you want to go to next?
That's the next one. And we know who the favorite is at 3-1, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
But I'm not going there. I mean, I think Jacksonville is 1 year away from really breaking out under Urban Meyer. I like the whole second year thing. We talked about that last week. There are two guys kind of in the medium range that are non-quarterbacks. I know this is a quarterback. I know you're probably going to throw Zach Wilson at me as a Jets guy. Oh, he's going to come out. The Jets are going to win 6 games, and Wilson's going to put up 5,000 yards. No,
he's 10-1 odds just to be.
Okay, I'm giving two guys at plus 650. Jamar Chase.
I'm all over this.
In Cincinnati. Played with Joe Burrow in college for 1 year. We know how successful they were. Mm-hmm. And the guy that ultimately I would put my money on right now, and just remember that for later in the show, Najee Harris in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm not in this.
I mean, plus 650. He's getting the bulk of the carries. The guy is ultra productive. Very well could have won the Heisman Trophy last year. Alabama just had so much talent with Mac Jones, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, obviously, who won it, and then Harris. I'll tell you what, that's my play. Najee Harris plus 650. Are you going somewhere else with that?
So no, I'm all in on Jamar Chase, and here's why. Again, I'll talk about the narratives here, and then in our last award, the Coach of the Year. Narratives are so important, and I thought last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but the winner of the Offensive Rookie of the Year last year was Justin Herbert. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
I thought it should have been Justin Jefferson. Should have been the wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings who had an absolutely stellar season. Mm-hmm. Well, what better opportunity to maybe correct the mistake from a year ago when there's another, top 10 wide receiver that's available who's going to put up stupid video game numbers in that offense because Cincinnati, 1, is going to throw the ball a lot with Joe Burrow. 2, the chemistry between those two is unbelievable. Just go back and look what they did at LSU together. I can get Jamar Chase at plus 800. I know you were talking to getting him at plus 650. I can get him at plus 800. I think to take a chance on a non-quarterback, I think he's the guy. I'll tell you what, Eric, I don't necessarily hate Trey Lance at plus 800 if he takes over in the middle of the year and he leads them to the playoffs. I don't hate it. I'd
rather have Fields. And I know Fields is a longer shot than that, but I'd rather have Fields in Chicago. We don't know what's happening with Green Bay in that division. I think that division is more winnable than with the 49ers. You just don't know what's going to happen in the NFC West, being that it's the toughest division in football. I don't hate Trey Lance. I think he has arguably the most upside of the group, but I wouldn't go there in year 1. He's a guy that breaks out in year 2, a la Lamar Jackson, I feel like. All
right, let's close with the Coach of the Year, and then you have the bet your multiple houses for the small portion of our listenership that might have multiple houses to give away. This is, in doing prep for this video this week, this is the category I thought we were going to be so opposite on. I thought we were going to go in different directions on. Now, we have not shared notes. We have not shared what our picks are, but this is the category I thought we were not going to be on the same page on.
I have two names.
I have 2 names as well. I'll let you go first. You can share your 2 names, and I will confirm to you if they are the 2 names for me.
I'm going to guess that the first one is at 16-1 on my book, Ron Rivera. with the Washington football team. We talked about him last week, Chris. We love Washington to win that division. I put a couple bucks on him this past week after our discussion to win that division. And at 16-1, I know they made the playoffs last year, but I think if they take a step forward and maybe go 12-5, Ron Rivera might be the guy. So that'd be my number one choice.
Okay. So we do have a match there. Ron Rivera is one of my guys. I can actually get him at 20-1. I can get him at plus 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah, my book's giving me the good odds. I get the good odds over
I got to go to your book.
At my book. But yeah, Ron Rivera is certainly one of them for me. I think, yes, the team made the playoffs last year, but they did it as a below 500 team. And I think, like you said, if they get to that 12-win mark, 11, 12 wins, get into double digits and really kind of just run away and hide with the NFC East, I think that story of what he's been able to do in a short amount of time in Washington will get rewarded. I think of all of the awards we've talked about, this is the award that is narrative driven the most. Mm-hmm. If you are a team that is expected to be good, if you're Kansas City, if you're Andy Reid, good luck. You're not winning this award. I don't care. You basically would have to go perfect. You would have to go 17-0 to be in this conversation. If you're Sean McDermott at plus 1,600, no chance. You have to go basically perfect. Kevin Stefanski won the award last year because he took the Browns from a team that was kind of middling and everyone was questioning, man, did they get this Baker thing right? Do they actually have the ability to make the playoffs? He took them after the Freddie Kitchens disaster. He takes them. He goes to the postseason. You obviously reward that. So I think the Sean McDermotts of the world, the Andy Reids of the world, the Bruce Arians of the world, those guys are long shots. I just don't know if they're going to get there. All right, who's your second guy?
Matt Rule. We talked about Carolina.
You're
last
all in
week.
On this Carolina sleeper.
I am. Now, mind you, I like to go before the season. We'll make another video on this where I go and I predict every game of the season before the season actually plays out. And I go through, and that's how I determine my playoff teams, everything like that. Okay. Without looking at the schedule, I think Carolina has a chance to be the last playoff team in the NFC. If Carolina, and maybe they can win that division, if Tampa Bay takes a real step back, Brady gets hurt. I know it's a long shot, but they could be second in that division, realistically. The Saints are going to take a step back without Drew Brees, and you don't know what's going to happen with Atlanta without Julio, Matt Ryan aging, new coach. Who knows? I think Carolina has a chance in Rule's second year with Sam Darnold, your old buddy from the Jets, a healthy Christian McCaffrey, some nice wide receivers. They've upgraded some pieces on defense. I'll tell you what, this is at 24-1. Matt Rule makes a lot of sense to me as somebody that, sprinkle a couple bucks on.
Okay. This one I think is going to shock you.
Okay.
If this guy is able to win the division with his team, if he's able to take this young quarterback and he's able to bring him to the next level, and this team wins 11, 12 games, and they win this division, I'm not predicting them to win this division. They play in the division of the team that I've predicted to win the Super Bowl. But if Brian Flores can get the Miami Dolphins to 11 or 12 wins and he wins the AFC East and he dethrones the Bills in that division and he beats the Patriots a couple times and they win that division, I can get him at plus 1,400. I think that's one of the outside the box candidates. They barely missed the playoffs last year. I think if he gets them to the playoffs this year, he's certainly – listen, you're making that face, but like –
1,400.
I know, but do you know who the favorite is on my book to be the coach of the year?
Brandon Staley.
No, thank you. At plus 1,000. No, thank you.
Right.
Because I don't think he wins the award.
No,
there's just no chance.
That's one that I can't get behind at such low odds for a first year head coach.
Plus 1,800. Mm-hmm.
I know you like that. Mm-hmm. You know who's last? John Gruden plus is 50-1. He's the least likely to win coach of the year. I thought that was very
Dan
very
Campbell and David Culley. I have at that number too.
Culley is 50-1 as well. Yeah. He's not winning. I can tell you, as I said, bet the under last week with Houston.
Frank Reich at 22-1. Do you like that? I know you're in on Tennessee, but I can see the path. I can see it.
I can too, but I'm not buying Carson Wentz just yet. So I'm not doing that.
But if they get back to the playoffs and they win the division, double-digit wins, and Carson Wentz has an unbelievable season, we're talking about how the revitalization of Carson Wentz's career. You don't think Frank Reich's going to get some of that credit and get coach of the year love?
Anything short of the number one seed in the AFC, I think he has no shot. I would put him on the Andy Reid McDermott. It's already been to the playoffs.
That's fair. He did get there last year with Phillip Rivers. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they gave Buffalo a game in the playoffs. Now, listen, I know Washington got there with Rivera last year, but they also had Taylor Heineke, and they played in a really crappy division, and they weren't above 500. So there is room to grow there. Indianapolis, unless they're the number one seed there and they dethrone Kansas City or Buffalo, for example, or Baltimore, whomever, I can't put my money on Frank Reich. All right. You ready, Chris, for my bet your house play?
So now, okay, very quickly, you have two of them. Are we betting individual houses on each, or are we betting multiple houses on?
We're betting individual houses on each.
Okay.
We're betting
so
one on each.
this is the condo in Palm Beach.
Yeah. And this one is these are player yardage futures.
Okay, you went deep into the barrel for that.
I did.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes passing yards. Now there's 17 games. So let's say Mahomes sits out week 18, right?
Okay.
His passing yardage mark is 5,050. That is for 17 games, that's a little under 300 yards a game. So let's say he sits out. That's 300 yards a game for Patrick Mahomes. In an offense where he is going to be out for blood, he's going to be so angry after what his team did in the Super Bowl. That's bet your condo. I'm not betting my mansion. The next one I'll bet my mansion.
Okay, so this is the condo in Palm Springs.
Condo in Palm Springs. Yeah. The mansion, Najee Harris on my book was over 949 and a half rushing yards. Not even 1,000. That is about 50 yards a week if he plays all 17 weeks. You're telling me that Najee Harris less than 60 yards a week with the path to double-digit carries every week in the Pittsburgh offense? The only way he doesn't hit that is if he misses, let's say, 3 or 4 games. This is a lock if he stays healthy, a lock. If Najee Harris plays 14 games, it's a lock. If he plays 13 games, I'll call it a lock.
So I just got to be honest with you. You're setting us up for failure, because I think every week now people are expecting you to come in here with the let's bet your house on this, parlay. Like you're coming out of the gate so strong. You're calling these locks, bet your condo, bet the mansion.
I would not have brought these up if I wasn't uber confident.
I don't disagree. I actually like both plays. I want to make that very clear. I'm on your side on this. I like both plays, but I will say it's just a very strong, we got a lot of weeks to go before the regular season. I'm going to tease next week's content. We're going to enter a different sport. We're not talking NFL next week. So, we got to set the listeners up here that you're coming out of the gates a little strong. Yeah.
I'm not going to give a bet my house pick every week, but when I feel strong, like Najee Harris to get 950 rushing yards, this feels like if I'm picking him to win Rookie of the Year, he's going to have a hell of a lot more than that.
He's going to run the ball a lot. I certainly think that in that offense in Pittsburgh, we're going to keep a close eye on it, right? Is Ben recovered from the elbow that was clearly bothering him last year? He was not the same Ben Roethlisberger. I still don't think he gets back to the levels we've seen from 2, 3, 4 years ago, but I think he can be better than he was a year ago. I think there's still room and there's still gas left in the tank there. But how much do they use, Najee Harris in the run game? Do they really put an emphasis on that? I think when you use a first-round pick on a guy, that's the clear-cut indicator, unless you're Urban Meyer saying that Travis Etienne's our third down back, that you're going to use a guy a lot and you're going to use him early and often. And I think that's the case for Najee Harris. So I don't hate this. Patrick Mahomes, I would be a little worried late in the season of him potentially kind of taking his foot off the gas if they're in a comfortable position to where he doesn't have to play late. But yeah, I think asking Patrick Mahomes to have 300 yards a game is pretty simple with the way that he plays and the way this team's going to play. And I think there's going to be a little bit of and I can say this here on the show, a little bit of an FU tour in the early parts of the year for this Kansas City team that's going to want to say, listen, I know we lost the Super Bowl, but we're still running the AFC. This is still our conference. We still run things around here. So that will be interesting to see. Okay, so we've done a lot of NFL here on the show. Next week, it's going to be college football. That's right. We're making we're cannonball, jumping right into the pool of college football. I think we're going to look at win totals next week for a lot of these college football teams and which ones stick out to us. We're not going to break down every single one of them, but the ones that really stick out to us in all of these conferences. So you can look forward to that next week. If you're seeing this either on the allazsports.com or on the All AZ Sports YouTube page, we appreciate you giving us part of your day. You can listen to Eric's show, Wildcat Country. You can see the background right behind him. That's on the YouTube page as well, wherever you get podcasts, and over on allazsports.com under the Wildcat Country podcast tab. So follow us on Twitter at @allaz_sports. Again, check out the website, all the content, all of the social media stuff we've been putting out. More shows coming your way soon in the future. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.